Hello, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. My name is Kirsten. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Please call me Mike.
Okay, Mike, got it. Awesome. Well, thank you. I just first want to say thank you for um, letting me interview you today. I'm going to just be recording this. We're going to post this on our KNWT Channel 8 YouTube page. And so I just want to let you know that. But I just wanted to ask you kind of a few questions, get to know you a little bit better. But my job as a reporter, really, and for the community for Maryville and for Northwest, is just to get to know all of the candidates and try and translate, your personalities as much as I can to them. So
Sure.
again, just thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much. So first, kind of just tell me a little bit about yourself, your background in education, and just kind of like the reason for wanting to run to be the next candidate for the Northwest presidency.
Yeah, well, thanks for the opportunity,
Yeah.
Kirsten, to interact with you today, and excited about this opportunity. Yeah, a little bit about myself. I'm a first-generation college student. Uh,
Awesome.
so when I went away to college, my parents dropped me off about 1,400 miles away from home and said, "We'll send you a plane ticket for Thanksgiving." And very supportive parents. It didn't sound that from what I just said, but they really couldn't necessarily help me navigate those first steps, kind of going to college. And so
Mm.
I was fortunate to, along my kind of progression as a student, but certainly my professional progression as well, to really have some great mentors in my life. And that kind of happened early on. And that really kind of fed into my development in terms of what I wanted to do with my life, and kind of where I kind of saw myself having the most impact. And so, again, without those individuals who kind of came into my life at that right moment and probably just said those right things at the time to have that level of encouragement, which we all need,
Right.
people have got me to where I'm at right now. And so it was that kind of progress along the way through my undergraduate degree. And then one of my mentors saying to me, I ended up transferring to a school closer to home,
Okay.
after kind of going away 1,400 miles. But a lot of that was because of that mentoring to kind of figure out what did I want to do.
Mm.
Once I figured that out, and then someone said, what about graduate school? And I said, well, what's that all about? And so you kind of figure those things along the way. And really why I got into working at a university, being involved in higher education, is that I wanted to be that type of person for others. I wanted to be that person, to be a mentor. I wanted to be that individual to help students find that individualized pathway to be successful in life and work. And that's what drives me even today. So I really never left the college campus after all these years, as a student and then working in a college campus. I came up through the faculty ranks. And so I originally got my PhD because I wanted to teach and mentor students.
Mm-hmm.
And was incredibly gratifying to have those opportunities to do that day in and day out in the classroom. But as other opportunities kind of came up, I thought, oh, could I have more of an influence on change to help students break down barriers, really take an equity-minded approach to how we deal with each and every student as an individual?
Mm-hmm.
And those kind of opportunities came, those leadership opportunities kind of presented themselves. And I felt like that was a little bit of my calling to kind of do that and to be a part of some of that innovative change. And so I went from a faculty member to being a department chairperson, and then I had an opportunity to serve as a vice provost for enrollment management and student success. And I was happy doing that. And we were really trying to kind of do things a little bit differently, recreate the student success continuum. So again, we can just kind of look at different ways for students to have those pathways that made sense, for them to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that time, the provost at the institution I was serving at took a presidency position, and then I was asked to serve as interim provost.
Okay.
I did that for a year and a half, and then it led me to wanting to be a permanent provost. And so that's what I do right now. I'm a provost at a regional public comprehensive institution in Missouri, at Southeast State University. My prior experience serving as a vice provost for enrollment management, student success, and an interim provost was at the University of Central Missouri. So I've been in the state of Missouri for a decent portion of my higher education career.
Mm-hmm.
What leads me to be really interested in Northwest is the focus on the people. the focus on the students, the focus on making sure that we don't just admit students into the institution, but that they have that ability to be successful. And when I mean success, certainly that means getting a degree, absolutely. But it also means success in terms of building community, having that belonging, having the ability to kind of create yourself into what you want to be as being a good citizen. And then that success really is certainly with the work that you may do once you leave Northwest Missouri State, but it's really about the ability to have that success in your life, that joy, that happiness, that fulfillment, all those things, because we know careers change. And so having the ability to have that type of influence on students, to have that social and economic mobility once they leave, I think Northwest does a good job of that. I know the university quite well after being in the state for some time. I see certainly some challenges that we have in higher education, especially. I know it in the state of Missouri, but those challenges, there's opportunities along with that. And I see a lot of opportunities at Northwest and feel like I could bring a certain level of passion, but certainly my experiences and skills to the table to work as a team to help kind of move things along at Northwest.
Right. Well, thank you. That was awesome. Just kind of get just an idea. That's very, very helpful. Just when you said first generation student, I've been able to meet a few on campus. It was like an interview I did long back about just like first generation students. But for you personally, like what was that like to kind of try and find that motivation? You know, like when your family wasn't able to go to college, how did you persevere and get the goals and accomplish the goals that you wanted to in your life?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, I kind of, and I'm a very transparent person. So
that's good.
And so for me, when I was in high school, I kind of thought about like, what do I want to do? And I didn't have a lot of answers, but I did know that I enjoyed certain aspects of high school that I didn't want to give up. And I wasn't quite sure what that career path would be if I didn't go to college. So I went away to college as really an undeclared student. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Athletics provided me an opportunity to maybe go to college that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise had because I was a first-generation college student, but also a lower income student as well. And so some of those opportunities were presented to me. But then really what it came down to, some of those challenges and opportunities were that you kind of find your path. A lot of it, like what I said, was good mentors. But it was then, where are those passion points? What types of things do I want to be involved with that I'm never going to feel like they're work, but I know that it's work,
Right.
And I was able to find that along the way, certainly through my discipline that I ended up getting my PhD in and everything, and found a lot of fulfillment in terms of the acquisition of new knowledge and solving problems and all those types of things that you do as you go through your degree progression. But for me, it really came down to the people.
Yeah.
And being able to be in an environment like a college campus and being in an environment where and I've spent a majority of my time at rural serving institutions who focus on access and affordability for students. And that's where I've served. And I've served there because that was me. I mean, that's who I was.
Right.
And having those opportunities, I think about what we're able to do, and certainly it speaks to me on a personal level, but what we're able to do for students, like students who are at Northwest, to provide transformation for their lives. But then you think about that transformation in their lives that can cause a generational change for their family.
Right.
And so that to me is my driving force. How can I be in a position, certainly in a decision-making position, in a leadership position, to continue to influence the type of change to make sure that students have that access, affordability in a manner in which they can have that pathway to be successful.
For sure. I agree. I think it's really important, like me, my parents went to Northwest, so I was lucky to have parents who went to college. But I do understand, still coming from, kind of like a middle or low to middle income family, it is hard to find ways to pay for college, whether that's taking out loans and having to take out a lot of loans, and then that worry and that stress, but then still like have to persevere and like get the degree that you want. So I definitely think, that is awesome that you're doing that. And that's taking your personal experience to this, because I know so many people who feel defeated before they even got here because of their circumstance and situation. So that's great.
And we all kind of have those hurdles and those bumps
Right.
in the road along the way. And that perseverance is certainly a part of kind of, I think what helps us develop as who we're going to be as people. But I think when you have to work for it and it's not given to you, and you have to find ways to pay for school, and you have to maybe work a little bit on the side. I mean, when I went away, if I didn't have my student work study job, and I probably wouldn't have been able to kind of survive and be able to kind of do things that you want to be able to do as a college student. So I think all those things kind of translate into this sense of, and I think you put it a good way, this sense of just persevering. You know that there's going to be those things that are going to kind of get in your way, but how do you deal with those? How do you learn with those situations? And then for me, what that really means at this point in my life and in my career is, how can I take those experiences and then help others, help them kind of navigate through those. Don't plow the way for them,
Right.
because part of it is that learning, but help them navigate through that. Because as a college student, you have to learn from the good and the bad, right? The mistakes and the things that perhaps go your way. And I think that's part of that problem solving, critical thinking, things that we want everyone to have the opportunity to develop when they're in college. And I think college does a great job of doing that, but it also provides you that level of maturation, development, because a mom and dad or your guardian or whoever isn't right there beside you, but you have some others to help you along the way. Yeah.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, really, really good. My next question kind of like goes along in the same lines, and I think I would know what you would say, but I kind of just want to hear from you. But from your perspective, why do you believe that you're the best fit for or to be the next Northwest president?
Yeah, I think my passion for people and just being a servant leader.
Yeah.
I think I'm a very humble individual. I'm very much someone who wants others to be able to kind of voice their thoughts, opinions, take all that and be able to advance the institution forward. I think I've been fortunate through my career to have a variety of different experiences in higher education, certainly being a faculty member, serving and overseeing enrollment management and student success, which is critical when we talk about the demographic cliff that's coming in higher education with graduating high school seniors and more students coming out of high school that perhaps aren't thinking about maybe immediately going to college. I think I have a good skill set and experience in terms of that aspect of things. Certainly serving as a provost and overseeing all of academic affairs and what does that mean? And then the holistic approach on how that deals with a lot of the co-curricular areas. I've been fortunate to lead my current co-lead my current institution through a strategic action planning process. And that looks like for the entire institution. And then currently going through initiating a comprehensive campaign, a fundraising campaign for the institution as well, working collaboratively with colleagues across different areas. I think all those experiences have a 360 view. And I will say what I think allows me to, if I were selected to be the next president at Northwest, allows me to kind of hit the ground running a little bit as well, would be my experience in the state of Missouri. I've been serving in leadership roles in the state of Missouri for over a decade now at two different institutions. I feel like I have an appreciation of the political climate in the state, certainly different state agencies, Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development, DESE, others that I have established relationships over the years. And
Yes.
really for me, again, what it comes down to is, do I feel like I could come to Northwest, bring something to the table in terms of experiences, but really help people at Northwest look to what the future holds for us, and be able to really think innovatively and collaboratively with individuals to think about what is next for Northwest. A lot of positive, strong foundation at Northwest across the board. But I think as we look at a regional public comprehensive institution in the state of Missouri like Northwest that has 80% retention rate already, has a 60% graduation rate, great things. We close some of those opportunity and achievement gaps for students who perhaps aren't at that 80% retention, aren't at that 60%. I think I have some experiences to bring there. Again, thinking about that individualized pathway to success and how do we help students. Faculty and staff there are fully committed. I felt that when I was on campus, visiting, and you can't manufacture that, right? I mean, that's either there or it's not. That fits very, very well with my core values and kind of where my passions are as well. I think when we talk about, is there a fit in terms of my leadership style and where the institution is, I think it's an incredibly strong fit. Because there's a lot of alignment there with core values.
That's great. Good. Well, it's been so great just I've spoke with Kit and now I've spoke with you. And so I think something that I just want to know from both of you, and this is something that I asked him, was just really like, how are you going to what is your game plan going to look like for when you come in potentially as the next president? What is the first thing that you kind of want to accomplish? What areas do you want to see improve at Northwest? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, first and foremost, when I kind of talk about what's the first phase of what does that look like, for me, my leadership style is pretty simple. Building trusted, authentic relationships with people in a transparent way. So my first goal when I get there is to build relationships with people, hear kind of where they're at, where they feel like there's opportunities and challenges, because you don't want to lose sight of the strengths that are there at an institution right now. And to walk into the door and think you know everything about the institution, no matter how much research you do, would be steering myself and the institution in a direction that perhaps wouldn't be most beneficial short or long term. So for me, out meeting people, meeting students, faculty, staff, certainly developing strong relationships with the Board of Regents, but with alumni as well, hearing from alumni in terms of their experiences. One of the things that, I asked students when I was there is I said, what makes you most proud about Northwest? Because you need to hear kind of where those synergies are, but kind of where that sense of commitment is from faculty, staff, alumni. So again, meeting people, developing those relationships would be priority number one. After that phase happens, which is an ongoing thing, but after that, to really kind of think strategically on how do we look for innovative approaches to make sure that every student is met where they need to be met at that particular point in time in their journey, to make sure that no student is kind of left behind in terms of having those opportunities. So it really fits with what Northwest says, every student, every day, kind of focusing on students, but really making sure that we take down as many barriers as we can for students to, again, have the opportunity to be successful. And then how do we support faculty and staff in that work? I've always said, if you provide faculty and staff with appropriate resources, they're going to make sure that they can work with students to help students navigate through being able to obtain their degree, get the next job, do all those things. So truly hearing from faculty and staff as well on how can we best be supportive in so that they can best be supportive to the students that they serve on a day-to-day basis.
Understood. For sure. If there was kind of just like one specific thing from your experience being here in Northwest, I know you weren't here for a long time, but what is something that you've picked up that you just really think needs to be fixed, or something that you want to bring attention to? It can be good or bad, but just kind of like, what is something that you've just you've noticed from Northwest campus?
Yeah, I think it's I think for Northwest, it's trying to figure out kind of where is that balance in terms of students that
Mm-hmm.
we serve. So certainly there's been growth with the online student population at Northwest over the past few years, and I think that's great. Providing flexible ways for students to be able to engage in in their educational pursuits is great. But I do think we have to look very strategically on the students that are coming in as freshmen, those students that are transferring the institution, that want that residential college experience. How do we make sure as an institution that we have a sustainable way to see some growth in some of the enrollment with those on-campus students moving forward? I think that the health and viability of the institution, not only financially, but that's a part of it, but the health and the viability of the institution rests with those students who are physically on campus day in and day out.
Mm-hmm.
Experiences that you have in terms of curricular and co-curricular really mesh together to a point in which we have to have that. I think that one of the strengths of Northwest, of course, is the athletics programs. And, that's great. That brings pride. I mean, that brings pride to the institution. That brings an awareness of the institution outside of the region even. And I think those things can be leveraged a little bit more to be able to kind of think differently on how do we make sure that students who are in high school and their parents who are in terms of decisions, how do we make sure that they understand the value proposition? What are they going to get when they come to Northwest and that experience? And so I think those are certainly some opportunities. There's a few challenges there along the way, like I said, with the demographic cliff that's there. But I think those are some immediate opportunities that we have to really think together on ways in which we can move forward on that.
That's great. If you could, pick one word to describe Northwest Missouri State, what would that one word be and why?
Caring. And I felt that when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Every interaction that I had with students, with faculty, with staff, with board members, with community members was this sense of we care about each other,
Mm-hmm.
care about the institution, we care about the community. I just got that sense of just caring and genuine caring. And again, when I talk about, why Northwest, why would I want to serve as president? I will say that caring attitude resonates with me. Like I said, my leadership style is building trusting, authentic relationships. You can only do that if you truly, genuinely care about people and you care about where they're at right now, but where do they want to go?
Mm-hmm.
And we collectively work towards making sure that people have opportunities, and that's students certainly that we serve, but it's opportunities for faculty and staff to have that personal and professional growth as well.
For sure. That's awesome. Well, you don't know, but I want you to know I'm very excited for you. And I can tell just kind of like that passion and that drive that you have. So I'm really, really looking forward to what these next few months are going to hold. But before we wrap this up and you leave, kind of just if there's anything that I didn't ask you or anything that you want the community to know, like the most important things, what is that?
Yeah, I would just, well, I'm going to first by starting to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity and everything to interact with you today. It's been a pleasure. And I will say, for me, it's just want people to know that you have something very special at Northwest. You really do. There's a lot of challenges that happen, like I mentioned, in higher education, and there's these kind of bumps in the road. Mm-hmm. I think Northwest has really positioned themselves well to be able to overcome whatever challenges are there in a very strategic way. And I think that as we look towards the future of Northwest and potentially my involvement in terms of being a part of that future, I would be incredibly excited to be a part of thinking differently on how we make sure that students have opportunities moving forward in an innovative way, and to be able to engage with Northwest, certainly with their educational pursuits, but what that means in terms of giving back to that campus community 5 years down the road. And so that level and that ethic of care that's there is inspiring, and one in which I'd be honored to be a part of.
That's awesome. Yes, again, thank you so much. I appreciate everything that you've said and being able to take that in. And I'm really excited to share this with everyone else, because people need to know, if they weren't able to come to the forums and just kind of get an idea of who you are, this has been great. So I appreciate you so much, and thank you for having me, for sure.
Yeah, thank you, and best of luck with the rest of things going on this week.
Yeah.
Busy, so
yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.